For decades, tag team wrestling was one of the most exciting parts of professional wrestling. It wasn't just another match on the card, it was chaos. It was teamwork, it was storytelling, and it was produced by some of the loudest reactions fans have ever made inside a wrestling arena. Two teams, four competitors, and one moment the entire crowd waits for. A battered wrestler crawling across the ring, reaching for their partner, the crowd screaming, and finally, that tag is made. The building explodes. In that moment, it has a name. It's called a hot tag, and it represents one of the greatest storytelling tools wrestling has ever created. We're going to go a little bit more in depth right after this.
Booking sheets and double turns, politics and slow burns, booking blunders, legends made, cities cheered and empires fade, take trade tales, late night shows, broken noses, borrowed robes, line them up, we call the spot, give you all the weird they forgot. Sheep pop history. Let the crowd go wild on the memory. Every bell, every brawl, every mystery. Step inside the ring with cheap pop history.
Welcome to another episode of the Cheap Pop Society. Back yet again. We're here to break down the history, psychology, and moments that shape professional wrestling. And as always, I am joined by the one and the only Grandma. How are we doing this week, Grandma?
Doing pretty good. It would be weird if there was more than one of me, even though I am a junior. So,
There we go.
I'm glad to be back. I'm glad that we're doing this. I'm excited to talk about this week's topic. I'd also like to say that Evie's still on hiatus, so she's not here this week. But moving forward, we're gonna have a great show today. I think we're gonna have some fun back and forth about the topic at hand. I do have questions and you have answers because you have been in these matches before. It's almost your specialty, so I'm excited to
Right.
really chew the proverbial fat, if you will. I know I look a little different this week with no headphones on and no seemingly lying on my bed, but that is because I am lying on my bed because for some reason my internet did not want to work, so we had to get creative, and the computer was like, "That doesn't work for me, brother."
Right.
So,
You
we figured it out.
you got the job to your computer and now to the internet as well. So we'll figure it out. You might need to make a hot tag here in a minute. But
Right.
tonight, of course, we're talking about something that really used to be a big deal in professional wrestling. Tag team wrestling it used to. I mean, you could see it headlining pay-per-views. It was definitely as a division was way more of a big deal back in the day, right? Uh, and it's not just about four wrestlers in the ring. It's a lot deeper. We look at things like the psychology, the structure, the storytelling, the timing, right? And what we're gonna do tonight, we're gonna break down why tag team wrestling works. We're gonna talk about the psychology behind great tag matches. We're gonna go over our word of the week. We're gonna have honorable mentions that we talk about, and then we're gonna get to the nitty gritty where me and you kind of break down potentially our top 5 favorite teams. I always like to say potentially and give, like, a little, like, asterisk there because inevitably I always forget somebody. So, I've had a little bit of time to put in a little bit of work here, and I'll break down the criteria that I used as well, just like last week, but, I always feel bad making these lists because I feel like it depends on the day. I'm really bad with that, but, um, we will get into that.
I think it's based on the criteria and a bit depends on what you're looking for because you can make a case for a number of teams to be in the top 5, and then you could also make a case for a number of teams to not be in the top 5.
Correct.
So it just kinda depends on the era and what you're looking for and what's important to you, and let's get into it.
And I really like your idea. Eventually, we're gonna do like the bottom 5 or whatever. We'll go through that. But before we get into really too much, let's go ahead and we'll go to one of my favorite segments. it was your brainchild. We're gonna go to the wrestling word of the week.
I hope you're ready for the wrestling word of the week. For the wrestling word of the week.
All right, the word of the week this week, I think very appropriately, is hot tag. Of course, a hot tag is what happens when a wrestler, you get beaten down for most of the match. They finally reach their corner and they tag their partner, right? So that's going to be your baby face finally gets that tag. Uh, once the fresh partner enters the ring, of course, full of energy, immediately begins to hit clotheslines, punches, elbows, whatever it is that they're hitting onto the hills as they bump and feed, bump and feed, bump and feed. The hot tag is one of the most important moments in tag team storytelling. Uh,
Like good old JR says, House of Fire.
yes, that's what it is. The House of Fire is initiated by the hot tag, right? And that's what you kind of build to that point of the match. That's what a good tag team match is going to build to. So once the crowd has watched that wrestler struggle for however long it's been, they're waiting, they're on the edge of their seats, hopefully, right? Cheering, begging for the tag. And when it finally actually happens, the crowd explodes. And then just like you said, it's the house of fire,
Yeah,
right?
you're building the psychology. You're
Yep.
building, oh, he just got within, a nail or like a hair of tagging his partner, and then he drags him back into his
Right.
own uh corner and then beat the hell out of him while the or his tag team partner is beating the hell out of him while his partner is distracting the ref. It's psychology is a huge thing in wrestling, and I think that's why a lot of people that are a little more seasoned in life enjoy it because it changed it your mental varies when you're looking into it because it's not always like, oh, Super Cena, 5 moves of doom, match over.
Right. And so, of course, that I mean, that's a hot tag. That's a really big piece of tag team psychology and one of the best tools you can use. And a version of it kind of exists with the double down part of it, of course, in every match. But the tag team, it's a little bit different than just having four guys in there, right? It completely changes when it's a tag team psychology. But obviously, the hot tag isn't going to do all that on its own, right? The only difference isn't the hot tag, uh, but it's only going to work if everything leading up to the hot tag has built that anticipation, right? Uh, so that's where we kind of start hopping into what exactly tag team psychology is. I do want to say that we have a mini documentary kind of series, episode, podcast, whatever you want to call it. Um, I struggle to say documentary sometimes because I mean, it's just me talking for the most part. Although this week does have pictures, uh, I go take a deep dive into tag team psychology. So we're just gonna kinda hit on the basics of it right now, with me and you because we have kind of more fun things to get to. But I know I put out a survey on Twitter and people are, they're looking to understand exactly what that is. That's why I wanted to make that little episode that kind of goes straight to that. But as far as the psychology of a tag team match, I'll go over my five pieces of it, and then um, you ask me your questions, add anything you want, obviously, because this you're just as much in this as me. So the only difference is I think I'm talking a little bit more because I've experienced this, and like you said,
Of
this is
course,
kind
yeah.
of like it's kind of my uh, forte here. I love tag team wrestling,
I've
but
watched it,
it's not
you've lived it, so it's different.
right, right. So the psychology of a match, and again, there's asterisks, right? There's always some match it's a little bit different, but for the most part, this is a basic formula that you can sit down and watch a match from the '80s, '90s, and even some of the like basic matches today. In the beginning, you're going to have your open and exchange, and that's going to be what establishes the team, right? It starts building that early momentum as to what the foundation of the match is going to be. Once you go from the opening exchange, you go into kind of the cutoff time, right? This is when the hill team takes over, okay? And what do you think the hill team's gonna try to do with that baby face that they have in the ring?
Oh,
You think
they're
they're
gonna
gonna
corner him.
right. they're gonna cut that it's why it's called cutoff, right? They're gonna cut that ring in half, uh, and that just lets them do whatever they wanna do, and if especially old school, you're gonna see he'll get in, do 1 or 2 moves, tag out, right? Frequent tags, just small moves, maybe some cheap heat, right? They're do a little cheating while they're in there, but you're gonna see that for however, whatever the amount of minutes is, you're gonna see the one of the baby faces get beat down, right? So that's called the heat, and that's, usually the smaller face will be the one that takes the heat, right? Because you want the bigger guy to be the one to come in and kind of live up to his size, I guess. Um, but anyway, so that part happens, and built into that, you'll have what's called, uh, false spots, right? Um,
What
and
kind of
that's where
spots?
uh, you we call them false comebacks.
Oh, okay.
Uh, but, that would be like me as the heel if I want to pick the guy up, I might have him start punching me in the stomach, whatever. He goes to run away, I pull him down with his hair, right? That's where you thought, "Okay, the baby face is coming back. Now this is the time where he's gonna start with taking over." No, it's not, right? And he might hit like I said, hit a couple punches or whatever, but then it's quickly turned back around to where you realize that the heels are in control. Um, and you might be able to go back and forth a couple times with heels and babies, right? So it's not just the cutoff and then to this point, but um, the important part is with the cutoff leading into the double down, leading into the hot tag that you kind of establish the fact that the hills are cutting that ring in half. So once you get to the part where the hills take over, then you're going to have what's called a double down. A lot of times, especially on the indies, it's just a clothesline, right? But it can take any kind of form. Uh, I've done double elbows, uh, double cross bodies, right? Do
Because you're a
whatever
bigger
it is,
dude, you'd be the one who is doing the hot spot, right? You're the one who's get the
receiving the
little
tag.
yeah, you're the one who's getting the tag and everyone's getting excited when you're going face.
Yeah. Um, and then I mean, actually, yeah, my entire tag team career, I was always the bigger guy, but, so you get that double down, right, and that's when me, like, on the apron would be trying to if I was a baby face, I'm trying to get the crowd behind me for my partner to come get the tag. Finally, he's coming, he's gonna be able to get the tag. If I'm the heel, I'm freaking out, like, trying to get in there before the baby face can get the tag. Um, but the double down, you go down and you don't move to at least the count of 7, right? Then you start moving. That's just the psychology of it. Um, once the hot tag happens, hopefully you've done your job. The crowd kinda goes crazy. Like I said, you go in. If you're the baby, you're just punching, kicking, whatever you're doing. Usually it's punching, clothesline, standing elbow, whatever. Um, and if you're the heel, you just gotta get your bumping card out, and you're gonna put a couple notches in it. It, you just get ready to
What
fall down and get
what's
back up,
that
fall down and get back up.
what's that little string called that you have to hold on to as a tag team wrestler? Does that have a name?
That's it's just a tag rope. Not everywhere has it, but it's just one of those things. It's more of an aesthetic thing, right? It's just something
Mhm.
that they can point to and say that you gotta be able to hold on to that. And that can come from the psychology of obviously the heels are gonna be the ones that try to take advantage or whatever. So, um, if you have a tag team or if you have a tag rope like that, you can start to go further out on the ropes, right? Let go of that tag rope to try to make the tag, and then the referee can come over and cause a distraction or whatever, right? So it's just another layer of stuff that you can do for the crowd to call you cheaters or whatever. If it's not there, it's not a big deal. But um, after the hot tag, right, then that's when you're getting ready to do what's called take it home, right? And when you take it home, that's just simply
Country
the ending.
roads.
That's just simply the end of the match. So whatever you have planned for the end of your match, you go right into that, and That's really the psychology of a tag team match, or that's the components of it. You have the opening exchange, you might have, some back and forth with the heel and the babies, then you get to the point where you're cutting off like, once you're up on the baby, you don't let them get the tag until the double down and the hot tag, and then go from there.
That's crazy, man. I'm sure our listeners appreciate that knowledge because there's a lot of things like you just you if you're one of those guys you just watch and you don't really take the time to understand why, you just watch and enjoy, like, I think that's beautiful also, but, like, I think as I get older watching these matches, it's like, "Oh, yeah, I know what's gonna happen. Oh, yeah, yeah, this is gonna" like, you can start predicting the future because it's usually
Right,
always the same thing. It's like that's why I like watching FTR, but it's also why I don't like watching FTR because they are basically the Heart Foundation and Demolition and the Rockers all wrapped into one.
right. They're really good at taking you on that emotional journey, which tag team wrestling's supposed to be. You know, a lot of they're one of the few current tag teams that have that old school mentality where you're gonna be taken through, uh, each one of those steps, and it's gonna be done well.
Yeah.
But,
I enjoy watching them, and I also enjoy when they kick the Young Bucks' ass, but again, I'm not
yes,
really a huge AEW people, but that was fun to watch in person at Revolution.
I'll kinda end my part of this with when you're looking at the fundamentals of tag team wrestling, I have my note here. So, for me, the tag team fundamentals, isolation, right? We talked about that, where you're trying to get the baby away from his partner, her partner, whatever. Um, you wanna put hope in there. Again, a hope spot. What, or false comeback, whatever you wanna call it. We call it the hope spot. That was the word I was trying to think of a minute ago. So, the hope spot, is where it looks like they're gonna take over, but then as the hill, you shut it back right back down. You want that sense of desperation, right? The whole thing with the baby face, when you're the baby face, you should never stop trying to get up. You take a big bump, whatever the big move is, you take a second, even if you gotta go to the ropes, start pulling yourself up. Start pulling yourself up on the hill. Why? Because innately, we're gonna love and we wanna root for people that never give up, right? Even if we don't think about it, we're gonna be cheering for that person because they're getting their ass kicked, but they're getting back up and trying to keep going. So that's the psychology of that. So that's the desperation that you need because once you have that desperation, in the end, you can have triumph where that baby face that never gave up finally got one over on the hill. And that's maybe not even winning the match, but that's winning the particular spot that they're in, right? They're stuck between a rock and a hard place where the hill keeps beating his ass. But finally he triumphs, gets his tag team partner or hits a move where he can tag his partner in, whatever it is. So, for me, that's the kind of the fundamentals. You need isolation, you need hope, desperation, and then finally that triumph, and that goes into the psychology that I just went over.
I mean,
Hopefully, it all makes
what so one of the you said bigger guys, but I was just caught in a thought, like, Shawn Michaels was not the bigger guy, but he always came out as the ball of fire, and he would get knocked down and he'd nip up, and it's like, "How the hell you just got beat up, like, how did you do that?"
right. And, that might come down to, uh, the status, the work rate, uh, or if you're in a team where there's not that much of a difference, like, for a lot of my career, once I started, losing weight, so back when I first started and then after I started losing weight, and the tag team I was in, we were pretty much the same size, so I would
For, like, Taker and
look at
Kane?
him here yeah. So I would look at him or he'd look at me and say, "You're taking the heat tonight," or "You're taking the shine tonight," or whatever it is. So when you're almost the same size, you can have fun with it like that. But for a lot of my career, I was distinctly, like, objectively the big guy. So that was a good night for me because I just had to stand out there, get ready for the tag, go in, knock some people down, and do whatever, right? It doesn't mean I wouldn't take moves, but I'm the one that for this particular purpose, I'm the guy that's waiting while I watch my tag team partner get beat up a little bit. If we're the babies, that's the big thing, right? So what's some of the questions that you have that the people watching might have as well? Hopefully everything I've
Well,
said makes sense. I'm just kinda rambling.
when you're in a so what's the difference between setting up a tag team match versus setting up a singles match? Like, what what's the like, what's that conversation like? Like, is it between each tag team and then the 2 tag teams go together? Like, does the booker
So
say, "Okay, Beard, you guys are going over tonight," and then you guys decide how you want your portion of the match to go, and then you get with the other team, and then you talk to them about, like, what spots you wanna hit, or how does that
so you imagine, you know, if it's just me and you wrestling one on one, right? It's a little bit easier, but now you gotta add 2 more people into the equation. But the good thing with that is very similar to how you'd set up a one-on-one match. You're setting up you and your partner are one, right? You're a team. So you sit down as 4 individuals if it's just a normal tag team match, and you work out just like you would in a normal match. What's the psychology? What's the story that we're trying to tell? And, it might be between me and my partner as to who's taking the heat or whatever, or we come up with a plan in the just talking to the other team that's like, "Oh, it makes more sense for me to be the one to take the heat. So let's work on how we get out of that," right? So you're you're working on developing a story that's for 4 people that makes sense for the team rather than just the 2 of you. A little bit more complex, but also if you go with the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid, you, follow this psychologist formula, right? You can get people on the edge of their seats every time because, again, you hit that hot tag, you come in, that house of fire, that gets the reaction that you want every time. Um, but, I mean, as far as setting it up, it's just conversation, it's just knowing each other as your tag team partners, right? You might suggest something for your tag team partner to do if you know them, right? And that's the good thing about tagging with them more than once a month or whatever. Uh, and once you work on other tag teams so much, right, you can sit there and you can together basically just spew out the match or say, "Hey, you remember that time that we did this? Let's do that again." So, no di is it different than singles match? Yes, in the way that the psychology works and that there's a lot more places you have to be, eh, because you're relying on you gotta look out for 3 other people and be in the right spot. Um, but is it really, really different? Not
No.
not much.
Now, if you wanted to get color, do you tell the other tag team, or is that something you talk to the booker about because maybe 2 other guys are getting color earlier or later? Like, is that something
Color
that's part of the conversation while building your match?
color's only going to happen if you if you have the blessing of the promoter. That's not something that you decide. Um, and you're not gonna do it unless you're gonna try to tell a story if it's just a regular match, right? If you're trying to build to a story, then you might have something there where they grab a weapon and the referee doesn't see it, they hit you, you're bleeding, whatever. But um, usually blading's gonna be done in a special some kind of gimmick match. Uh, but yeah, that's not something that even really is up to the teams.
How about like a titles match? Is that I know obviously everything's predetermined, but like, is there specifics on like, oh, we're gonna take pictures this way, or like you guys are taking the gold tonight, like make sure we get out of the ring at a certain point, or like is that the referee's job to tell them to get the hell out of the ring so you guys can go, corner to corner? Like what
It's You just fill it out. I mean, you have the respect for the other people, like, if you're in the ring and the champions come out, because they should come out second. Once they get in the ring, you just get out, and that's easy being a heel, you just chicken shit your way out, like, whatever, let them have their time because we're gonna take their titles, whatever you wanna say, whatever you wanna do, but that's your time to go out, kinda shit talk the crowd a little bit, um, but it's just a feeling process. There's no, like, set thing, um, but you might have you might be having a conversation if stay in the ring and make them feel like idiots or, whatever. It's Oh, that part of your question, that answers that. There was a second part of your question, I don't remember what it was.
I forget too. So
I
oh,
think I maybe I covered
uh, say it again?
maybe I covered both, I don't know, but I feel like I only covered half of what you asked.
It's okay. Um, I did have another question though. Managers. If one tag team has a manager and another doesn't, is he running notes between the teams, like, on the sidelines when we're not paying attention? Or is he running notes to the referee? Like,
So,
could
a manager in any match is fun. I love to have a manager, especially in a tag team match, so, the way that works when you're at least nowadays, I can only speak for the last 15 years, just figure them in when you're talking over with the other team. So if you really want a spot where they need to be, you let them know, talk it over with the other tag team, and we know what's coming. 9 times out of 10, you know, that's only going to be maybe one time in a match where they got to be a certain place to choke or whatever. But once you've worked with people so long, like I had a manager that out of 15 years, I think he was with me probably 8 or 9 of them, right? So,
wow,
uh, we would just like, I wouldn't tell him what to do, I just tell the other person, like, if I set you up, if I set you on the rope, I'm gonna back away, take the ref. When I take the ref, the manager knew to go choke or do whatever, right? So, those are the little things, like, in between, but if it's a big spot, then you plan it ahead of time. Um, but as far as actual messages or whatever, I mean, if you needed a message, I guess to be delivered, they could do it, but that's what you have the referee for, really.
interesting. I think that's just all the questions I have right now. I'm sure I'll have more later, but or maybe in another episode.
And then that's good. So, again, if you wanna get more in depth into what
Oh,
the
hold on. Actually,
psychology
if any of you guys have questions, add us at on our Twitter and put ask beard, a hashtag ask beard, and we'll get those questions answered on our next episode.
that's true, and I do wanna start doing a part where we, because 'cause I've been doing some different polls and all that kinda stuff, so now that we got people interacting with us, we'll kinda start having those kinda
Also, those
moments,
the ones
but
that are interacting more often, if you have TikTok, we are in plans to start doing a couple of lives, maybe once a week, where we can answer your questions about anything, but also answer your questions about how we feel about the product that's happening now, or
right.
if you just want to chop it up and have like a cool conversation with us about wrestling or your thoughts versus our thoughts. Like, we're there to share, we're there to talk, we're there to listen. And then also, I believe we're gonna start after Mania, doing YouTube lives.
Right, that's what
Um,
I was gonna say, so even on those times, like, we made if we just hop here on Riverside, which is what we use, they do not pay us, but we pay we pay
yeah,
them, but, uh, anyway, so we use Riverside, and when we do go live, I do already have it hooked up that YouTube and we'll be live on X. I have not hooked up my TikTok yet, but we will probably just go ahead and go live on all of them, I think each time once we get going on that, and, eventually we might just be doing our episodes live, so I think that'll be fun as well because obviously we're just we're one take. We're not
Yeah.
gonna sit here and redo everything, and, usually all I edit is putting pictures on, so, and I don't have time to sit and rewatch everything, so, uh, that is what it is. Maybe one day we'll have an
Just a
editor that
lot of
goes
fun
through.
interactive shit coming your way though, guys. So just
Yeah, yeah.
stick with us, and man, we love hearing the comments and reading the comments from you guys and all the support that you guys have been giving us. Like our day ones, I'm gonna reward you guys. We know who you are. As soon as we get this going and we start making merch, you guys are gonna get some free shit from me just for being there for us right now. So I think up to 100 subscribers, I can afford to take care of. So if you're there before 100 subscribers, I got you. We'll get something cool out to you soon, and
And
we'll start doing some fun stuff, some interactive stuff, maybe gift cards at WWE.com, AEW.com, whatever on our lives and maybe on our TikTok lives. Just maybe you guys can go buy yourself some professional merch, or you want to buy our stuff, we can do that too. So a lot of fun stuff's coming
what's
our your way.
exciting sorry, and what's exciting about that is we are already over halfway to 100, right? So we started this with no expectation at all. We and let's go back to our first episode, we met
This
each
whole
other
thing started
via
because
TikTok.
Evie wanted to start the podcast and learn more about
Yeah.
wrestling, and she got me to jump in your TikTok live, and that it's crazy how things work,
Here we
but
are.
here we are.
Um, so anyway, tag team wrestling again, it's a journey. And I don't know that anybody that listens to this and listens to the episode that comes out on Monday, I don't think that they will, if they truly take it in, ever watch tag team wrestling the same. And that's my goal. I want them to be thinking about the part of the match that they're watching. So, I think that's the really that for me, that's the fun part of this episode tonight. And then in just 2 days, they're gonna see a little bit further in depth look at what it's about. But um, I think that it's time. If you don't have any more questions, I
No,
think
go ahead.
we start mixing it up a little bit, and
Let's
this
hear
way
this
we can
list
get
of
more.
yours, brother.
Well, I think what we'll do is we'll go into some people or some teams, sorry, that or maybe honorable mentions that didn't quite make the top five that we went over. I guess
Sure.
first we should talk about what we looked at least what I looked at. Um, as far as criteria, because like we talked about last week, I always want to have some kind of criteria when I'm doing this. Am I right with my top 5? Probably not, because it's subjective, and that's the best part about the business, right? And I was telling you before we even got recording, like, I love doing these episodes, but I guarantee you I'll watch it tomorrow or whenever I watch it and be like, "Well, shit, why didn't I say this team?" And that's even after I've written this list down and changed it 2 or 3 times, you know what I mean? So, that's just
But
how it is, so if you
my
don't.
favorite part is arguing with you about your list.
Right. And that's exactly it, that's the whole point of this, which is
Because you're
why I
not
asked you
wrong.
to make.
You're not entirely wrong, but it's just like you
Right,
said, it's subjective and there's different POVs, and that's I think that's the whole fun of this episode is doing this now, the part we're about to do right now. So
and that's why this week, it's not just gonna be my top 5 or the top 5 that we kind of work together to agree on. You don't know my top 5, I don't know your top 5, and we're gonna go through those, and, I'm gonna tell you what I used to determine the top 5. Uh, there was 4 key factors that I looked at, and it's very similar to what I looked at last time, and, I'm looking at influence, longevity, in-ring chemistry, cultural impact, right? That's what's kind of been used for the countdown. Anyway,
I'm
I've
so
got a
excited for
couple
this.
I got a couple teams here that I have honorable mentions, and again, this kinda goes through any era, and I'll be honest, I promise somebody's gonna be complaining and hopefully commenting so that I know about I don't have a lot of modern people on here, and that's because not because I don't like it, right? I like it, but I just haven't watched enough of it, I think. You know, I'm at the point right now with being busy with work and all that, that I'm just now starting to make sure I'm making time to watch wrestling because we're doing this, right? There's been quite a few years now where I've just been watching just pay-per-views, so, um, I'm missing a lot of people, and I know that, and,
Not
um,
with the current product, not really. All the good tag teams are in AEW, and I hate saying that, but
and I'm starting to find that you know, again, by doing this, I watch Raw a lot of time, uh, at least the recap of it. I love watching AEW, uh, just because I mean, the matches, you know what I mean? So, and tomorrow night I'm going to SmackDown in Pittsburgh,
oh
you know,
hell
so
yeah,
that'll be, get to see Jelly Roll and whatever, so that's anyway, um,
dude, that's rad.
yeah, it should be fun. Uh,
Well, who's your first honorable
first
mention? I got a good one.
I have
My first one, I'm
Cobra
not gonna tell you yet. I'll tell you after yours. But my first one has a Hall of Famer in the tag team.
really. Mine is and I'm gonna say the Midnight Express. Right, they're not in my top 5, but they were masters of the tag team psychology, right? Heel teamwork, and that's why I think that they should at least be mentioned, but I can't put them in my top 5. Who's one of your
Culturally,
honorable men
culturally, I'm with you. Other than that, I a lot of our older fans are gonna think we're ridiculous, but I just maybe I'm just too young for them, but they didn't really move the needle for me.
And I think that's a little bit of it for me too, like, a little bit before my time. I appreciate what they did and, you know, just listening to a lot of different interviews and everything of
And rest
people
in
that
peace,
I
they just
look
lost
at.
a member, right? Someone passed away,
Yeah, yeah, just this week. Um,
and that was James E. Cornette's tag team, right?
yeah, and that's what I was
Yeah.
gonna say. I think the best part of them, other than the Hill teamwork and the tag team psychology, of course, Jim Cornette. He's hilarious, but, anyway, that's one of my honorable mentions. Who's somebody in your honorable mention list?
That's an amazing start for honorable mention. I'm gonna go with the hippest tag team in the '90s who never held a world tag team championship. That well, they did, but they didn't because the ring ropes broke. And I'm talking about none other than the Rockers.
Nice.
They did once win the tag team titles against Heart Foundation. However, during the match, the middle rope just fucking gave out. And Vince was like, that looks shitty. That looks shitty. We're gonna redo it. Send them back out there. Send them back out there. It changed their mind. Bret Hart and Anvil, excuse, excuse me, um, retained their titles, and Mario Jannetty and Shawn Michaels never held the tag team titles together.
That's yeah, that's
They culturally, everybody wanted to be the Rockers. People were wearing the wristbands on the head and like doing cut off midriff shirt for dudes and like the different colors and that music that came out to was pretty. I mean, it was basic as AF, but it was cool. You knew it was the Rockers. So as far as your criteria goes, they're not in the top, but they are an honorable mention because of what could have been. And Janetti just drank and did too many drugs. I mean, Sean did too, but Sean, you know, Sean.
right. Fair enough.
Do
I
you
have
disagree? I see the pensiveness
no,
on your face.
I was honestly, I was just, putting them off my list and kinda sticking with somebody else, but, I agree. I think they're a good honorable mention.
Who you got next?
We I, have the Rock and Roll Express, um,
Oh, brother, you're
longevity.
going
I don't think
old school
anybody.
tonight.
Well, we're working there. Um, I don't think that anybody's gonna match their longevity, but, through the whole time that they've been a tag team, they've almost perfected the babyface storytelling of tag teams. Um, so that hot tag moment, that's kind of something that they perfected, and I don't think that between that and the longevity, I don't think you can go against that.
Uh, I agree. I mean, that's yeah, I agree. My next one is this is gonna be controversial. The Heart Foundation.
Got a million
They
dollars.
were great technical wrestlers. They were amazing at technical wrestling. But if that's not your bag, listening to Bret Hart cut a promo is like farting in the wind. It's just it's just and then Anvil can only do this so many times. Like they're one of the greatest tag teams of all time, but they're just in my honorable mention. They don't hit all the marks when they need to. And that's also going back to Bret when we talked about that. Like Bret himself, great in a lot of things, mediocre in a lot of things. And I think that carried over to the tag team. Um, but the Pink and Black Attack, man, they were fun. They weren't what I would put in my top 5.
And you made a good argument. I can't say anything against that. Um, I'm gonna go with
How many are we doing?
I got I got a couple more. I
Okay.
can you want me to just if you want, I can just kinda list
Oh,
instead
go
of us
ahead. Do
going
what you
through the
gotta do. I can come up with I have tag teams galore.
I'm gonna say Steiner Brothers, so we're getting a little bit newer. Uh, they just the way they were able to I mean, their size, so kind of a new look at athleticism, right? A revolutionary mix of power and athleticism. Scott Steiner, of course, he started with the Frankensteiner, uh, and they had the whole psychology part of it down. So I think that as a tag team, they were one of the better teams in the early '90s.
Athletically, they were a lot of fun to watch. And then as they started to get older and start to mature, you can see the wheels start turning and like the colors changed and then Big Papa Pump was born and he turned on Rick Steiner and then like yeah so like yeah I get it. I'm with you. They were good, not great.
Yeah,
My next one is the Hollywood Blondes. Of course, I'm speaking about
ooh,
Stone Cold Steve Austin before he was Stone Cold.
stunning.
I think was he Stunning Steve Williams?
It was I think it was still Steve Austin, stunning Steve
Okay.
Austin.
It was Stunning Steve and Flying Brian Pillman, and man, those guys were a lot of fun to watch. And for some reason, they looked at both those guys as mechanics, so we only
Camera.
saw I mean, we saw them a lot on the Saturday night program that WCW used to put, and, yeah, I they were great hands, and if you would have put them together 10 years later, they would have probably been top 2 in my list. But unfortunately, timing's everything, and it is what it
Yeah,
is.
and I think that they had a lot more they could have done when they broke up. I'm gonna kind of the same era. And this is a team that I struggle not to put in my top 5. Um, and I wanna make this distinction too. This top 5 isn't my favorite top 5. This is based off of what I put as far as the criteria goes. If it was based off of some of my favorite, again, this team might be even closer to the top 5, um, but Harlem Heat, I loved Harlem Heat. Again, I'm a WCW fan.
Sucker!
Uh, they were a team that they were always the bad guy, I always hated him as a kid, right? But, once Booker T kinda separated and started doing his thing, I would go back and watch, and I have a new appreciation for Harlem Heat. Not not quite top 5, I couldn't give them that nod, but I a great tag team. 7-time WCW tag team champions.
I would love to put them in the top 5 because of all their accolades and what they brought, but they're scooted out of my top 5 because of the value of the other teams that are in the top 5. They're good, they're almost great, but there's greater teams.
Yes.
That's a good one, dude. I'm gonna go Demolition.
Nice. They were one of the
Um,
ones on the list too.
Demolition because at first they were a rib on I don't wanna say who because that they're in my top 5, but, they were a rib on another tag team with the face paint and all the
Yeah.
weird garb that they're wearing, and they quietly became Hall of Famers. So,
Right. Well, one of the
um,
most dominant teams of the '80s, for
a
WWF. I mean, that was
and and one of the first trios, like, that was pretty
mhm. Oh,
cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, they again, good, not great, but they deserve to be talked about.
I agree, I agree. Um, I'm gonna go and actually talking about not, kinda missing people. There's 2 teams here, I'm gonna name them real quick that I forgot to put on my list, and I hate that I did because growing up, some of my favorites and or there's one, actually, I'm not even gonna mention the other one, but the one that was a personal favorite of mine that you're gonna probably laugh that they're even on the honorable mention list, but, um, I absolutely loved the Nasty Boys. I don't know why, maybe it's just a guilty pleasure of mine, but I just thought their like, the brawling style was kinda my thing, right? So, personally, they're in my honorable mention. I don't know that I can justify for the criteria putting them in honorable mentions, but, I loved, like, the Nasty Boys and Public Enemy, Harlem Heat, like, Steiner Brothers, like, Sting and Luger, that that time period, that's my, like, childhood.
I get it. I wasn't into
And
the
Public
gross
Enemy
stuff with, like, the armpits and stuff, so
Pity
that really
City.
wasn't my
Yeah,
yeah,
that was weird for me, but
that wasn't my bag, but I respect it. I thought it was funny, and I have 2 more also, the Bushwhackers. They were fun, man, and they knew their role. They weren't ever gonna be, like, the greatest tag team, but they knew their role, they played it well, they stayed in character all the time.
Did
I
you
just
know
like
the do you know who they were before they were the Bushwhackers?
yes.
They were the sheep herders, and they
Sheep
were in
herders, yes.
Australia, and they were bloody all the time, hardcore wrestling, like, the complete opposite of what they were when they came over here, so, that's an interesting note that maybe not everybody knows, but, um, I don't hate it. Did you have somebody else? I mean,
Y go ahead.
I'm I'm just gonna spew off a couple names here so that we can get into our top 5, and then you can spew off some names if you want or whatever. Um, I have on my list The New Day. I don't think I mean, entertainment through the roof, and for modern wrestling, one of the more successful.
I got a box
Uh,
of Bootios over here, and I have a Cheerio or a Bootio.
that's awesome. The Young Bucks, simply because they've revolutionized modern tag team wrestling, right? Love it or hate it, that's
Fuck
they're the
the
standard bearer right
Bucks.
now.
Fuck the Bucks.
Uh, FTR, same thing. They have brought back old school tag team psychology, which I talked about. So, that's why they're there. And last, I'll mention for honorable mentions, I guess, The Usos, they're
Yeah.
probably
I
one of
had the
WWE's
Usos as
best
one of my honorable
modern teams.
mentions, and they may eventually be a top 5. They're not yet, but they're in my honorable mentions. I also had the Godwins,
Oh, yeah,
um,
yeah. See?
because they made an impact. Um, Money Inc.,
Mhm.
when it was IRS and, Million Dollar Man. Um,
There's so many, man, like, there's so many
yeah,
tag teams that
I think I'm
I
gonna wrap it there because there's just I can probably spout out another 10, but nobody wants to hear that. They wanna hear our top 5.
yeah, and an honorable mention, of course, that I mean, it doesn't mean anything, as far as we didn't rank them, right? That wasn't like the last ones we said was a number 6, but, um, there's just so many that I could just sit and justify saying, like, they're worth a mention, but, um, I think it's time. Let's begin the countdown, and I think the best way to do this, if you agree, one of us can start with number 5, and then the other one will go with their number 5, and I'm interested to see if we have any. I'm sure we'll have tag teams that are in both of our top 5s, but I'm anxious to see if we rank any of them in the same spot.
Well,
Um,
I peaked at one of yours, and I think our number 1 is exactly the same.
oh, really?
Anticlimactic, I know, but there
It's
there's
all right.
so much to be said about it, so we'll
Yeah,
get
yeah.
there.
Um,
Okay. Well,
who goes first?
go ahead. Do whatever you wanna do, I don't care. You call it. Alright, good.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
I can't see yours because my head's blocking it.
Oh, mine was, the same thing.
Oh,
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
I can't see yours.
Paper?
Move your I got paper. What'd you have?
Oh, mine not in hold on. Yeah, scissors. Alright.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll, uh, I'll start us off then. So for my number 5, I have the Dudley Boys because they went across 3 promotions or more now. ECW, WWE, TNA. They've been champions and they were WCW tag team champions technically in Japan. I mean, everywhere they've been. So they did that and they were able to just bring, they got to bring their own style from ECW, the chaos, the violence. Uh, Tables, of course, was their signature thing. 3D is something that a lot of people still use, right, on the indies or, teams use it now even on television, so and Devon, get the
Get the
tables!
tables!
I think that I'm confident in putting them at number 5 on my top 5.
Okay, I like it. I have them a little bit 1 notch higher. They're my number 4. I won't I mean, you talked about him. My number 5 is Edge and Christian.
Number 5 is Edge and Christians, my so we
I just
flip-flopped there.
yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah,
I just
you
have
go ahead
a
and talk about
weird
I'm not talking
affinity
about.
for both of them. I watched them from being the Brood to being what they're done now, and the career success both guys had individually and as a tag team. Them being in the tables, ladders, and chairs match with the Dudleys and the Hardys, like it's hard to not include them in the top 5. And they they made a lot of those matches entertaining for me because I was a sarcastic fuck when I was younger, and I love the looking for the peeps or 5-second photo. Like those are all great things. Plus the spear off of the ladder was just chef's
On
kiss.
WrestleMania. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
crazy.
and so it's just there's so many good things, and then they're still doing it. I just watched a promo they did with Renee Young or Renee Paquette, and it's like they're like chameleons, man. They just keep
Yep.
changing their colors, and they're in their 50s now, and they're still it's still Jay and Adam, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's It's cool to see, and it's a lot of fun. And yeah, we did swap. I don't know who your four is. I'm assuming it's Edge and Christian also, but
Yep.
my my number four is the Dudleys because I wish I could put them higher, but I have three other teams that are legitimately better because of their cultural impact. And in my opinion, at least, it's all objective. But like, I left out a team actually. Now that I think back about what I just said about the tables, letter, and chatter. Ugh, shoot, that's gonna make me look stupid. But anyway, go. You're number four.
Eh, that's part of it is going back and like, "Oh, shit." But again, my number 4 is Edge and Christian. A lot of the same things that really all the same things that you talked about, uh, for the benefit of those with flash photography, you
Yes.
had that kind of thing, so they had that elite in-ring work, right? They could make anything work. They were able to TLC match, be one of the pioneers for that, but they're also able to have character work like crazy, right? The 5-second pose, I still remember a lot of those and just laughing my ass off as a kid, and, it was to the point where I really never wanted them to win any of the matches that they were in as far as, like, the TLC matches or whatever, even though they won most of them, um, but I always wanted to see them in the ring and entertain. Um, now I have again, I'm older, I have much more of a respect for them, but, uh, again, I think a solid, definitely top 5 team, and, we, I think, proved that now that we both have them in our top 5, but,
Oh, who's
I
your number
agree.
three?
My number 3, I have to go with the Hardy Boys, and
I knew it.
so, we have the TLC trifecta here as 5, 4, and 3, but, um, you know, they changed what tag team wrestling looks like. Speed, high risk maneuvers, creativity. Jeff Hardy jumping off of everything that's above 5 feet in the building, just going crazy. The whole Team Extreme moniker just brought in, I think, new eyes and new fans to a world that, yes, it's dangerous, but I don't know that they would have loved tag team wrestling as much as they did had it not been for the Hardy Boys, and, right in there with the Dudleys and Edge and Christian, they brought new eyes to tag team wrestling, and, with that, they brought a new kinda psychology to it where it's just that extreme, crazy, whatever you wanna call it, but, um, I and the fact that they're still going, and I don't know how Jeff Hardy walks. I don't know how he's still alive, let alone walking, so um, kudos to them. They're still doing their thing, and again, like you said, so is Edge and Christian. So uh, I think we're really cutting teeth there. As far as for me, like I think any of them could be number 3. Any of them could be 4 or 5. Right. So I think that that's a toss up.
Apologies from me to House Hardy because I omitted them from this list. And it wasn't a slight. I'm they're six on my list. My number three is the Brothers of Destruction,
Mm,
Kane and Undertaker. That when they were on pay on they when they were a tag team together, they were virtually unstoppable. And seeing them together, it was probably better when they were against each other, but seeing them collab and go back and forth back with each other, it was just like that is awesome. Like when you hear this is awesome, like every time you saw them together, it was like you knew something special was going to happen. And maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm biased because I'm a big Mark Calloway fan, but uh I feel Taker had to be on this list. And I admitted I admitted DX also from this list, and they probably should be on here also. So
I
I'm excited to
I
hear your 3 and 2.
so I mean I admitted those guys too, and the Outsiders. APA, the Mega Powers. There's so many that were like legendary tag teams that just ended up not being here. But I'll get into my number two, and again,
Who's your
personally,
three?
not my
Oh, your three is the
Super
Hardys.
Bowl.
Your Hardys.
Yeah, personally, not even in my top 10, but I think that they they got their spot here, and that's the Hart Foundation. Um,
Wow.
because I'm putting so much emphasis on psychology. Because
Okay.
as a tag team, you don't have the best promos. Okay, you get to carry each other. You really need, especially in the time period where they were like, if you could perfect the psychology of a match, you got over. You're the champions. I prefer Bret Hart as a tag team instead of the world champion. Um, but again, nobody was a better technical wrestler than him. Maybe there's some that were close to his level, but nobody was better. And they just became probably the most fundamentally sound tag team, one of the most fundamentally sound tag teams ever. Um,
Oh, you must have been biting your lip when I put them in my honorable mentions.
well, and again, the subjectivity of it is one thing, but I just think you can watch their matches, and uh, as a student of the game, you can watch their matches, and it's just a lesson in what tag team storytelling is. And I'm such a big proponent of the storytelling aspect that I just I don't know. They're that's where they landed for me, and
For sure. And
some
that's
of
all
the people
right.
that we
That's your
omitted,
list.
yep, some of the people that we omitted, again, like this isn't necessarily personal favorites, but who's your
My
number 2?
my my number two is the Outsiders.
Mm.
They changed the game and they made everybody believe that WWE or F at the time was invading WCW with just them two and baseball bats. And they weren't the greatest workers. Scott Hall was a good worker. Kevin Nash was an okay hand, but he was just size. Um, but the see that's what Kevin Nash is the opposite of Bret Hart. He cut great promos, but he was just a whatever in ring worker, and I just the combination of the two is just it has to, for me it has to be the Outsiders. They're not number one because they're just not, and they're not. But
I mean,
I think
I
if I
think one of
rewrote
the
this
best
list
things,
5 times, my answer would be changed every single time.
I guarantee it, me too, and, um, one of my favorite things about Kevin Nash is that he'll be the first one to tell you, I'm the best worker, about I couldn't lead the dance, but I was a hell of a dance partner, and
Yeah,
that was kind of where I felt I fit in as far as wrestling goes. Like I wasn't necessarily the one to lead the dance. I did it when I had to, especially when I got older. But um, when I got in there with people that were significantly more experienced or better than me, I could listen and we could make magic. And so I really appreciated what he said there. But um, I guess we both have the same number one, as you said. So
hold
whatever
on.
you want.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Mm. Russ. Every
If
time I cough.
well, if that doesn't tell you who it is, well, it's
Well,
the Road Warriors or the Legion of Doom or whatever you want to call them, widely regarded, and I don't think just from our list, but widely regarded as the greatest tag team of all time.
they still
Super
call it the Road
dominant,
Warrior Pop, brother.
right? Super dominant, super over, uh, war paint, spiked shoulder pads, unmatched
They're,
intensity. They look like something out of a comic book, uh,
They were
just
2 dudes from Chicago you did not wanna see in a dark alley ever. The reverse
right.
mohawk, the regular mohawk, those badass Chicago Bull colored, spikes coming out of the pads, like,
Yep.
sure, it would look silly as hell today, but when we were young and watching this, holy shit.
And
LOD
here's
was and then they were on bikes, and then when they weren't on bikes, they would walk down, like, all hard like Obafemi does right now, like, "Oh, fire me up, brother, I love some LOD."
right, and they were just at the right time, I think, and the right presentation is so intimidating, but they legitimately sold out arenas all around the world, and I don't know that there's any other tag team on our list even that can say that they were legitimately the reason for sellouts all over the world. Uh, and like you
Everyone's
said,
gotta tip their cap
still
and
called
say,
the
thanks for the house, brother."
right, and it's still called the Road Warrior Pop, so their influence continues to this day. If I'm not confident of anything else on my list, I'm confident the Road Warriors being number 1,
I've seen them
and
live once and when I was, like, 7, and that still, till this day, one of the loudest ovations I've ever heard. Beside second to only when The Rock came back in Anaheim, Valentine's Day many, many, many moons ago,
mm,
and they did the electricity for the first time, and
oh, yeah.
"Do you smell what The Rock" like, that was loud, brother. But imagine the Road Warrior Pop every night, like,
Right.
that's sustainability to the highest power,
And again,
and
the perfect timing. It was the perfect storm of presentation and, that's intensity, the looks, everything, uh,
and then when they had Paul Ellering
there
as
they
their
were.
manager, like, it just
Yeah,
added even more layers to it. And
right.
then to this day, it's not even like, it's not even just that, it's like you said, "Well, tell him, Hawk."
Yeah,
"Well?" Like, it's the simplest things, and Jake's the Snake Roberts talks about it. It's the simplest things that they drop these little brain ninjas on you, and you don't even realize it until many years later, and it's like,
yep,
"Holy shit, oh, yeah, yeah," and that's your memory, that's
yep,
a boom, core memory unlocked, and it's like, What?" Like, "Why do I hate snakes?" "Oh, because Jake the Snake made, Damien's bites Macho Man." Like, it's just wrestling is the coolest shit out there,
yep,
and I don't care what anybody says. This is fun, and if you're listening this far and you still think it's stupid, you're not a fan, you're just listening because you're bored. But if you're listening
try
and you're
trying to
and
be a
you're
hater.
yeah, it's just fun, man, like, enjoy life. Live life, let life happen, enjoy fun shit, like, you don't have to be angry and, "Oh, it's fake," it's fake. Yeah, we all know it's not real, it's not but so is the movie you went to go see Friday night.
Right,
Who
right.
cares?
It's just RASSLIN, wrestling.
Wrestling, brother.
Again, tag team wrestling isn't just another division of professional wrestling. It's a unique storytelling format built on teamwork, timing, and psychology. It's about making the audience feel every single movement, the struggle, the desperation, the anticipation, and finally that explosion of the hot tag. When tag team wrestling is done correctly, it creates moments fans remember for the rest of their lives.
I would like to tie that beautiful I'm sure it was the ending to the show, into something real life, real
Just
quick, if you
final
don't
thought.
mind,
Go ahead.
and that was a beautiful outro, I'm sorry for ruining it, but I mean, I am sorry for ruining it, but tag team wrestling is a lot like life. Whereas you, especially if you're going through something or you're missing something or someone or anything, like your dog dies, your girlfriend breaks up with you, like it's there's anticipation in life, there's expectations in life, And sometimes you get the hot tag and sometimes you don't.
Yep.
And you if you keep faith and you keep pushing and you keep kicking like double J E double F J A double R E double T, you just keep kicking. Um, Eventually you're gonna get that hot tag, and eventually your dreams are gonna come true, and what you put out in the universe is gonna come back to you. So keep the faith as Shawn Michaels would be holding the tag rope when Triple H comes to tag him, or Mario Jannetty comes to tag him, and he just goes in like a house of fire and blows things up. And brother, just keep believing because life is too short and too fun to be depressed all the time and not be happy. So if watching wrestling makes you happy, by all means, watch wrestling. And if you're, I'm going through it myself, but if you have any problems with depression or you need someone to talk to, you can always at me at Dip Truck on Twitter or at Gramavia on TikTok. Inbox me. I will always answer. We can chop it up. I'll be there for you, especially the first 100 subscribers. You want to talk or you got something going on? We all got a story, brother. We all have stuff going on. Like LA Knight said, men's mental health is important too. So if you have something you need to get off your chest, you don't know who to talk to, my good brother right here, Beard, and I will be there for you. You want to crack open
Indeed.
a novel and have a story? Let's do it. But just know you're not alone. And I've had
Beautiful.
to learn that myself. I thank God for Beard being in my life because the last couple of weeks I've been going through something. My man's been there for me to help get me through it. I'm still not out of the woods, but I can see the light at the end of the tunnel and it's getting brighter. So God bless you. God bless our listeners. And thank you for listening this far. I know we're a little long winded sometimes, and especially me, but I appreciate you listening to our rants. I appreciate y'all listening to our show. Only great things are going forward, and this rocket ship is not going to stop. I promise you that. Sorry, Beard. I know I didn't run that by you before I did it.
No,
I
no.
felt like I needed to share.
Really, that's beautiful. And again, we appreciate you. We love having you here, and uh, thank you for the kind words. But I had a blast tonight, and I look forward to so many more things that we have in store that is in works. Right? Uh,
Hell yeah.
maybe maybe
Yeah.
eventually we do a little bit
WrestleMania
more than
season coming
1 week.
up.
Yeah, maybe eventually we do more than one a week. But we guarantee at least that one episode every week where we both get on here and have our back and forth and do whatever. And uh, it's a good time. And again, that was a beautiful summing up. If anybody has anything that they ever have to get off their chests, there's at least two people on social media that they can reach out to, and then you're looking at them. So, uh, other than that, if you enjoyed this episode, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Share it with a friend who loves professional wrestling as much as you do. And remember that the stories, they do not stop here. And until next time, keep chasing that cheap pop, my friends.
See ya.